The Antarctic is a world unlike any other, a place where the sun disappears for months, the cold gnaws at every inch of skin, and silence stretches farther than the eye can see. Here, life is stripped down to its rawest elements. Every day, the few people who live and work on the South Pole Station face a relentless test, not of strength, not of skill, but of the human mind itself. The isolation, the monotony, the darkness, they are not just obstacles, they are a mirror, reflecting fears, anxieties, and hidden strengths, and challenging each individual in ways most of us could never imagine. We're going to explore what it's really like to live here, the moments of tension over the smallest things, the hidden victories that keep people going, the psychological toll of months without sunlight, and the surprising ways the mind adapts, survives, and sometimes even thrives. By the end of this video, you'll see isolation in a way you never have before, and understand the extraordinary resilience of those who endure it. Before we dive into the frozen depths, hit subscribe, because the journey we're about to take into the human mind at the edge of the world is just the beginning. You won't want to miss what comes next. The people who choose to live here are not careless. They are not reckless. They are scientists, engineers, medical officers, researchers, the kind of people who understand the stakes of their work. Yet no amount of training can fully prepare anyone for what happens to the human mind when the horizon is nothing but ice and the sun refuses to rise for months. It is not just the cold that tests them, it is the slow erosion of normalcy, the monotony of sameness, the crushing weight of being with the same small group of people in a place where privacy is almost non-existent. In the beginning, most crews enter this world with a mix of excitement and confidence. There's camaraderie, a shared sense of purpose, and a quiet thrill at being somewhere so remote. They joke, they plan, they share meals, and for a while, the isolation feels almost like an adventure. But soon, subtle cracks appear. What begins as friendly teasing or minor irritations can escalate into tension that feels disproportionate to the problem at hand. A crew member spends too much time on a video call with family, and suddenly, it is not just a phone call. It is a statement, a choice, a division of loyalty. People who once laughed together now argue over small inconveniences. It could be as trivial as the last sheet of paper, or who gets the last piece of chocolate. And yet, these small incidents reveal something larger. They expose the fragility of human equilibrium when stripped of distractions, when every day is identical to the one before. It is not that the people are changing, but rather that isolation forces their true selves into the light. Some need control, some crave connection, some retreat inward. One crew member might hide small treats like chocolate, not out of greed, but as a way to maintain some sense of order, some ability to predict and manage the unpredictable. Others lash out at minor slights, not because they are cruel, but because the monotony has amplified their anxiety, their fear of scarcity, of being powerless. And then there is the darkness. For months, the sun does not rise. Light becomes a concept, not a reality. Circadian rhythms collapse. Sleep becomes fragmented. Insomnia is common, but so is a lighter, shallower sleep that leaves people exhausted even after 8 or 9 hours in bed. Mood swings are inevitable. Anxiety rises like a tide. Depression creeps in silently, unannounced, yet inescapable. Seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, is not just a medical term here. It is a lived experience. Every day without sunlight chips away at normal mental defenses, making small frustrations loom like massive cliffs. A broken appliance or a missed shipment of supplies can feel like the end of civilization. The monotony also affects cognition. Researchers report difficulty concentrating, memory lapses, even errors that under normal conditions would seem unthinkable. When your brain has nowhere to wander, when external stimuli are few and repetitive, it begins to fold inward. Thoughts spiral. Anxiety feeds on itself. The mind, like the landscape around it, becomes stark and unyielding. Yet in the midst of this mental storm, some researchers find resilience they did not know they possessed. Community becomes not just comforting, but necessary. The small group of people in the station is all there is. Meals, shared chores, game nights, movie nights, exercise routines. These become anchors. People bond in ways that are intense, immediate, and sometimes volatile. Arguments flare, but reconciliation is often quicker because the environment demands it. One cannot afford to isolate fully, not in such a place. The success of the mission, the survival of the group, depends on cooperation. And slowly, often without them realizing it, the crew develops a form of psychological armor. They learn to tolerate tension, to manage the ebb and flow of emotions, to find joy in fleeting victories. A well-cooked meal, a new movie, a letter from home. Yet even as resilience develops, the psychological toll is constant. Loneliness is different here. Not the occasional loneliness of being away from friends for a week, but a gnawing, persistent emptiness that can only be partially filled by virtual communication. Phone calls, video chats, emails, these help, but they also underscore separation. A friend or family member lives a normal day, a mundane one, and the contrast makes isolation sharper, more acute. It is a reminder that the world continues elsewhere, full of movement and light and warmth, while here everything is frozen, dark, and slow. Researchers have also begun experimenting with innovative ways to combat these effects. Some stations incorporate spaces designed for relaxation, rooms with soft lighting, music, and artwork that simulate the outside world. Virtual reality programs recreate natural landscapes, providing the brain with simulated escapes from the barren horizon. Audio-visual stimuli, tailored to individual preferences, break the monotony, offering a mental lifeline. These tools are not luxuries. They are lifelines, necessary interventions to protect cognition, mood, and social cohesion. The psychological journey of Antarctic researchers is one of contrast. Moments of profound despair are punctuated by moments of extraordinary clarity. Isolation forces reflection, stripping life down to its essentials. Choices are simplified, resources are limited. Daily life is stripped of the clutter that fills the modern world. And in this simplicity, some find unexpected growth, an ability to live more deliberately, to appreciate small comforts, to understand what matters. This is the phenomenon known as salutogenic effect. Adversity in some cases becoming a source of personal growth, resilience, and self-confidence. Sleep, however, remains an ever-present struggle. The body, so finely tuned to daylight, rebels against endless darkness. People take naps at odd hours. Sleep schedules are irregular. Fatigue interacts with mood, amplifying tension. Anxiety feels sharper. Irritability grows. It is a relentless cycle, one that can last for weeks, months, even the entire winter. And yet, researchers develop coping mechanisms, often through trial and error. Exercise becomes not just a physical necessity, but a psychological one. Hobbies, painting, writing, crafting, or reading, become lifelines. Social events, even small ones, take on heightened significance, forming the structure of normalcy in an otherwise abnormal world. Conflict is inevitable. Small disagreements over chores, supplies, or social attention can escalate quickly. Yet resolution is often just as rapid. Crew members learn to read one another in ways impossible in normal environments, noticing subtle shifts in posture, tone, or expression. These microsignals become survival tools, guiding social navigation in a pressure cooker environment. Some researchers experience what can only be described as profound psychological transformations. Isolation becomes a mirror, reflecting inner fears, anxieties, and strengths. Coping strategies sharpen, emotional intelligence develops, and a kind of quiet self-reliance emerges. This is not universal. Some struggle, some falter. But for many, the Antarctic experience leaves a permanent mark, an indelible lesson in endurance, adaptability, and the power of the human mind to navigate extreme conditions. Returning home is jarring. The world feels chaotic, almost excessive. Supermarket aisles are overwhelming. Choices abound in ways that are almost painful after months of strict rationing and minimalism. The noise, the lights, the constant movement of other people, all of it contrasts sharply with the stripped-down, orderly, and controlled environment of the station. For some, this leads to a period of adjustment, a recalibration of expectations and priorities. What was essential before now feels trivial. What was overlooked before now becomes precious. The experience also imparts perspective, akin to what astronauts describe as the overview effect. From space, they say, the Earth appears small, fragile, and interconnected. On the Antarctic plateau, the effect is psychological rather than visual. The mind, unburdened by the noise of daily life, gains clarity. Problems that once seemed insurmountable appear smaller. Human relationships are reevaluated, and personal priorities are reassessed. It is a kind of forced introspection, imposed by environment, yet profoundly transformative. Isolation in Antarctica is, in many ways, a test of extremes. It is a study in how humans cope when stripped of conventional comfort, when social and environmental structures are minimal, when sensory input is limited, and when darkness dominates. It is a study in vulnerability and resilience, despair and growth, conflict and connection. The stakes are high because the environment is not forgiving. Small mistakes can have real consequences. Mental fragility is a risk not just to the individual, but to the group. Cooperation is essential, social awareness is critical, and personal coping strategies are a matter of survival. And yet, despite all the challenges, or perhaps because of them, many who endure Antarctic isolation speak of profound rewards. They describe a heightened sense of self, a deep appreciation for human connection, and a clarity of purpose that only emerges when life is pared down to essentials. They tell stories of laughter in the mess hall, quiet camaraderie during shared chores, and moments of awe at the stark alien beauty that surrounds them. They describe chocolate rationed carefully, letters from home read again and again, and nights spent staring at a sky so vast it feels impossible. The psychological effects are not uniform, nor are they predictable. Some researchers thrive, others struggle. Some experience heightened anxiety and depression, while others find the isolation a sanctuary from the noise and distraction of modern life. What is consistent, however, is that every individual is changed. Every individual confronts themselves in ways unimaginable elsewhere. Isolation is a mirror, a teacher, a relentless examiner of the human psyche. And through it all, life continues, meticulously measured, daily routines maintained, scientific work pursued with quiet determination. Even with support systems, mental health resources, and carefully structured routines, the environment presses relentlessly. The cold seeps into the mind as well as the body. The monotony presses on perception. The darkness influences every thought. And yet, researchers persist. They adapt. They cope. They survive. And in some cases, they emerge stronger, more self-aware, more resilient than they imagined possible. Isolation in Antarctica is not merely a challenge of survival. It is an intimate confrontation with the mind, a test of psychological endurance, a journey into human limits. It exposes fear, tension, and vulnerability, but also courage, creativity, and strength. It teaches lessons that no classroom or city life can impart, offering insight into the delicate balance between human fragility and human resilience. When the winter finally lifts, when the sun returns, and when researchers step out of their stations into the blinding light, the world feels different. They are changed, quietly and profoundly. Every small choice, every rationed piece of chocolate, every long night without sunlight has left its imprint. And perhaps, in the vast silence of Antarctica, they have discovered a truth about themselves that the normal world rarely reveals. The mind, like the ice around them, is formidable, adaptable, and capable of enduring far more than it ever imagined. The story of Antarctic isolation is one of extremes. Extremes of temperature, of darkness, of distance, and of the human mind. It is a place where ordinary life is stripped bare, where psychological endurance is tested daily, and where every day is a negotiation between despair and resilience, fear and growth, monotony and meaning. And in this stark, frozen world, the people who live there reveal something universal: the capacity of the human mind to adapt, survive, and even flourish under conditions most would call impossible. The isolation is total, the cold is absolute, the silence is overwhelming. And yet, in that desolate expanse, life persists. Not just survival, but growth, reflection, and an intimacy with the mind itself that few will ever experience. Antarctica does not simply test its inhabitants, it transforms them, carving clarity and resilience from ice and darkness. And as the horizon stretches endlessly white, those who endure carry back lessons that resonate far beyond the frozen plateau, about endurance, about connection, and about the astonishing complexity and strength of the human mind. It is a world that most will never see, a test that most will never face. And yet, it is a world that continues to teach us about what it means to be human. In the silence, in the darkness, in the cold that gnaws at the skin and the soul, there is insight, there is growth, there is understanding, and above all, there is the quiet, unwavering persistence of those who endure. And so, the Antarctic stands as a crucible for the human mind, a place of extreme isolation, extreme beauty, and extreme psychological challenge. Here, in the frozen heart of the planet, we witness the fragility, the resilience, and the extraordinary adaptability of humanity. And perhaps, in understanding their struggle, we understand something essential about ourselves.